And the first pitch misses outside from Sydney Watts.
Sydney Watts already just going to that outer half. She's going to be arm side heavy, so she's going to throw lefties out, righties more toward the inside.
Well, Talon Edwards last year led the team in runs and walks. Hadn't been playing to her potential early in this season. Was challenged by Kenny Gajewski. They had a very candid but needed conversation. Since then, she's hitting 3 of the last 4 games.
Yeah, she is definitely a leader on this team. Anchors that third base position. Kenny Gajewski just, loves what she brings to the game. A lot of energy, a lot of ability to lead, and that's really what's important. You've got to have some voices out there. You've got to have some moxie, some mojo, and some energy.
Fouls off the 2-1. Two to Edwards.
Good job by Edwards already just to work the count. Work it full.
Payoff pitch from Watts. Into left field. Tailing towards the line is Willer. 1 down. Now, one of the keys to watch in this game is how does Sydney Watts start in the first inning. Last 2 outings, the early portion of the game did not go her way. Particularly against Pitt, allowed 2 runs in the first, but then settled in, Michelle. Went 3 scoreless after that. That's the key, in the words of Eileen Morales tonight.
Well, a lot of young pitchers have a tendency to start a little bit slow, haven't quite figured out exactly what their routine is, maybe in the bullpen. How many pitches do I need to throw to be on point in the circle in that first inning?
Tia Worsup, second in the Big 12 in batting average. Goes down swinging. How about that for a start for Watts? Quickly 2 down.
Wow, Watts, hammering the zone against Worsup. Just working her quick, working her fast. So this pitch on the outer half, and Worsup is just going to swing through it. You can see the way that Hunter sets up the catcher on the outer half, expands the zone. Great job by Watts to pick up her first strikeout.
Ball 1 to Rosie Davis. Davis riding a 4-game hit streak after she was moved to the 9-hole in the Baylor series. A motivator, and she responded. She's back near the top of the order.
Kenny Gajewski is not afraid to be 100% honest with his athletes and move them around, send a message, especially if he knows he can get more out of them.
Oh, an off-speed pitch just missed, and Watts did not like that.
She doesn't throw that off-speed a lot, but when she does, she can fool you. Take a look at this pitch on the outer half. Look at the spin and the rotation on that.
Home plate umpire Mario Calabrese. Up at first base, Dwayne Shoemate Jr. And over at third, Jeffrey Blanken. 2 down, bases empty, the 2-2.
Watching Rosie Davis in the pen, taking some cuts before the game. Just has a lot of power when she could get extended, can hunt her pitches. Right now Oklahoma State a little bit early on Sydney Watts. Watts throws more spin than speed up at the top of the zone, and ironically, that last ball, that's a rise ball at the top of the zone, but when you're early on it, you get over top of it, so she actually has more ground outs than fly ball outs on her rise ball, which you don't always see a lot. Oklahoma State's, the challenge for them is to let that ball get deep in the zone before they swing at it.
Count full to Davis. Would love to get her on with 2 outs and Amanda Hassler awaiting on deck, the reigning Big 12 Player of the Week. To third, backhanded by Tucker, long throw and makes it in time. A 1-2-3 inning for Sydney Watts against the top 15 Oklahoma State offense. Georgia Tech will pick up the bats when we return. Well, it's a Georgia Tech team that had a career type of night last night from Grace Conley in the middle of the order. 3 for 3 with 4 runs batted in. Altogether, they plated 6 runs on 7 hits and 6 walks.
Yeah, absolutely took advantage of the free passes that Oklahoma State issued.
But tonight, Eileen Morales told us they'll have to have a different approach against Ruby Malin.
Yeah, against Malin, you're going to have all that experience. She knows how to attack the zone, expand the zone. I think for Georgia Tech, the challenge is going to be where do they want to look? Because Ruby can throw you very hard down at the knees and make the ball disappear. She can also throw at the top of the zone with a really good rise ball and chase you out of the zone upstairs.
Strike 2 to Alyssa Willer, who homered last night for the 6th time of her young career. One of 10 freshmen on the Georgia Tech roster this year. Ten
freshmen, 3 of which are starting tonight. Pretty impressive.
And when you look at, their top 5 hitters this year are either new completely, freshman transfers, or playing in totally different roles this season for Eileen Morales. Malin coming off a start against Georgia on Wednesday, went 5 innings, 6 runs, 8 strikeouts, no walks, though only 4 of those runs were earned. And that was part of the issue in that game for Oklahoma State. Uncharacteristic mistakes in the field, a season-high 5 errors for the Pokes.
5 errors. Only had 22 errors on the season going into that game. One of the best defensive teams in the country, and wheels absolutely fell off. Ruby's asking where that last pitch missed. 3-2 count, looked like it was called maybe low in the zone.
Thoughts?
Yeah, it's you really have to figure out the umpire when the hitters are all at the back of the box. It's where the strike is supposed to be called where the ball goes over the plate, but it's easier to call that pitch low when everybody's deep back, the ball's dropping down, so it appears to be lower. So Ruby's going to have to do that, make an adjustment, bring that drop ball up a little bit. But trust me, as a pitcher, a former pitcher, I want that pitch. If I'm throwing it over the zone.
That would irk you a little bit.
But I'm like every pitcher. Georgia Tech's pitchers would want the same.
Grayson Tucker leads the team with 9 home runs. Missed almost all of last year with a shoulder injury that required surgery.
Nice cut by Tucker. Aggressive on that pitch upstairs.
Go ahead run aboard here in the bottom of the first, 1 down and a 1-2 count. And a strikeout on the outside corner, 2 away.
Well, Ruby aggressive, going right after Tucker. She likes to expand that zone. That's a curveball on the outer half, and you know she can move on multiple planes. That's actually a drop ball that has curve, so you can call it either way, a curve that's going down or a drop that's going a little out, but multiple planes, multiple movement with really good spin and velocity up near 70 miles an hour for Ruby.
First pitch misses wide to Jaden Gailey. She is one of those returners in a totally new role as a junior. Already as many at bats this season as she had all of last year. Scorches it to Bloodworth. And Ruby Malin pitches around a 1-out walk. Scoreless through 1 in Atlanta.
In the month, 13 RBIs. Hassler can swing it.
She will take on a young freshman arm that has no scouting report because this is her first collegiate appearance. And it comes in the second inning against the top 15 team in Oklahoma State.
Well, I'll tell you, it's the biggest innings of her career. Well, it's her first innings of her career. I mean, pretty impressive that you have enough faith in Harris to be able to put her out there against a strong Oklahoma State lineup, especially 4, 5, and 6. She's a little down, little rise. Not afraid to throw on the inner half. Challenging Amanda Hassler, who has been very strong in expanding the strike zone on the outer half.
Hassler to the right side. Nobody covering first. Maybe a little mental hiccup there from Harris. And Hassler is aboard.
Now Hassler with an infield base hit, and primarily because Georgia Tech, their entire infield was so deep. Look at how deep that right side is, knowing that Hassler does go strong and heavy to that right side. Nobody getting over there to first base. So, lead off infield base hit for Hassler.
And so the go-ahead run is aboard for the Pokes. Carly Godwin at the dish for OSU. You mentioned Oklahoma State in each of their last 2 games. Losses to Georgia and Georgia Tech. They were right there. Swing or 2 away late in the game. The key, Kenny Gajewski told us, is that consistency throughout the game. Situational hitting early when you're not in a high leverage situation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's probably every coach kind of goes through that with the team, is the gravity of the situation, understanding how important not every inning, not every out, every pitch of the game. You've got to be focused, and you've got to know the situational hitting that you are in every single pitch of the game.
3-0 is a strike to Godwin.
He also said we need to do a better job in leveraged counts, and just because we're in a 3-1 count, which now Godwin is in, if they throw a good pitch on the inner half and you're looking out, you do take that pitch. But if they throw you in your cookie zone, you got to go chomp on it.
Godwin draws a walk, so back-to-back runners aboard for Oklahoma State in the second inning. And if you're just joining us, Sydney Watts, who started this game, another freshman for Georgia Tech, went 1-2-3 in the opening inning, including a strikeout. As Erin Dixon comes out of the dugout to chat with her young Timber Harris. And Michelle, we were given the indication that this could be a staff day. How that would pan out, we weren't quite sure, but Georgia Tech playing a lot of games in a condensed period. Yesterday was a high leverage game in which their ace went 5 1/3. So they're going a little bit deeper into the bullpen here early today against Oklahoma State.
Well, and they have the ability to do that because they actually have 8 arms. Actually, check that. Now that they are using Harris, they have 9 arms to be able to go to. So they they've got a lot of different options, let's put it that way, and not afraid to use them. And one of the questions that we did talk to Coach Morales about was, how do you make that decision if you do have a pitcher that runs out there and gives you a 1-2-3 inning? Do you let him go out for that second inning? It's so tough to make those decisions, but Eileen Morales, I think, knew that she was going to have to try to do things a little bit differently after using her 2 aces. She does have two aces in Voiles and Norton, who threw the majority of their innings after using them yesterday.
So 2 on and nobody out for Megan Delgadillo, who has led off every game this year for the Cowgirls until tonight. Drops down a bunt, fielded at third, cleanly by Grayson Tucker. But Delgadillo does her job and moves Hassler up to third as Godwin goes to second base.
Delgadillo with a lot of speed, but a really good bunt, moving her teammates up, productive out. Let's talk about that's another aspect of situational hitting, is knowing that if you're giving up an out, what are you getting in return?
And now Audrey Schneidmiller as the DP tonight. Had started the last 2 games at catcher to give Amanda Hassler a bit of a break. And all of a sudden, brought her bat out. Hits in each of the last 2 games. Kenny Gajewski told us we have to keep her in the lineup somehow.
Well, sometimes you just need that consistency of, being out there on defense, being involved in every pitch of the game.
One of a number of returners back from a Cowgirls team last year that made their 5th consecutive Women's College World Series. Down to the count 0-2.
It's interesting that she just tried to bunt at 0-1 to foul that off to go to 0-2. Didn't look like Hassler was running on the pitch, so I don't know if it was a missed sign. Maybe trying to draw the infield in.
Check swing, but did not go around according to home plate umpire Mario Calabrese in a 2-2 count. Go ahead run at third base, 1 down, top 2. Schneidmiller to second, the only play at first, and Oklahoma State has a 1-0 lead.
That's really good base running by Amanda Hassler over there at third base, seeing that ball hit right side, knowing that the infield was deep. Grace Conley really did not have an option but have to go to first base to get that second out of the inning. You see how deep she's playing. If she'd have been pulled in, it might have been a little bit of a different story, but the fact that Hassler is going to identify that. She sees it immediately, and that's what we call ball angle. She sees that ball angle down to the right side, takes off, scores the first run of the game for Oklahoma State.
And now the starting shortstop, Megan Bloodworth, with a runner at third and 2 outs. Chance to make it a 2-0 game or more. Here in the top of the second after trailing 6-0 through 5 a night ago. Meanwhile, for Timber Harris, how big would this be? Infield single, walk, 2 on, nobody out. Strike away from getting out with only allowing a run.
Well, Coach mentioned she's pitched to contact, and she's done a good job so far of letting her defense get her some outs with that traffic on base. She's got that spin over the top, rolls some ground balls.
She gets a ground ball, but foul. Bloodworth in a terrific place mentally, according to her head coach, Kenny Gajewski, enjoying the best season of her career at the plate. Career highs across the board to this point. Another 1-2 from Harris. In the air to left, tailing foul. It'll get out of play.
Continuing to challenge Bloodworth underneath her hands, in her half. Timber Harris has been mostly arm side. Haven't really seen her try to expand the zone on the outer half.
Low ball 2. Godwin at third after a walk as the second hitter of the inning. And Bloodworth putting together a tough at-bat here with 2 down.
Yeah, doing a really good job of making those decisions on pitches on the inner half. Do you let those go? Do you swing at them and get rid of them, foul them off, live it for another pitch? See if she makes an adjustment. You know, at some point, maybe move off the plate a little bit.
Bloodworth batting .306. Does have some pop in her bat. Don't let her position in the 8-hole fool you. She does have 5 home runs this year for the Cowgirls.
Yeah, second highest on the team.
The 9th pitch of the at-bat. Bloodworth up the middle, fielded at short, and Simon on the first to end the inning. So Timber Harris does get out after allowing the first 2 base runners to reach. Oklahoma State with a 1-0 Georgia Tech team that reached base once in the first inning with a walk by Alyssa Willer. Otherwise, soft contact against Ruby Malin.
Well, Conley was so strong going the opposite way last night. It'll be interesting to see what Oklahoma State does with her if they try to go back inside. Yeah, and absolutely with Ruby's ability to work both sides of the plate, both up and down. See if they try to challenge her on the inner half. She definitely did damage on the outer half.
Conley started 82 games her first 2 seasons on campus, just 9 last year, and has worked her way back into the starting lineup as a senior.
And she's got good splits, strikeouts to base on balls, 17 base on balls to 9 strikeouts.
Handcuffed, flare to the left side, looking into the sun, but making a backhanded catch. Megan Bloodworth, 1 down.
A little bit of a jam job. Good job by Bloodworth to go back and get that. It looked like it potentially had opportunity to find the green.
Malin was so dominant last weekend against Baylor. A series that really Oklahoma State had to have.
100%. That's a Baylor program. Another team, you cannot look at their record. I mean, they were below 500 going into that series against Oklahoma State, but that is a program that Glenn Moore always puts together, always tough and gritty.
Oklahoma State was under 500 in league play going into that series and lost game 1 to the Bears.
Yeah, because they went into Texas Tech to lead off the Big 12, and of course you're going up against Nyjah Kennedy, probably the best pitcher in the country, the buzzsaw, that's right.
Malin pitched in all 3 games against the Baylor Bears. Did not allow a run over 16 1/3. And that is why she is the reigning Big 12 pitcher of the week.
Yeah, look at those statistical categories. The strikeouts, over 120 in her 90-ish innings pitched. Victories, ERA, just a skosh over 1. You know, nowadays, if you have an ERA in the low 1s, that's considered elite.
Oh, particularly with the schedule they've played. We talked Georgia Tech, top 10 in strength of schedule. Oklahoma State right behind them, top 15.
Well, Oklahoma State in the month of February had the toughest schedule in the entire country. Went down to Mexico for the leadoff tournament, went to the Clearwater ESPN tournament for week 2. I mean, Kenny Gajewski says it. He's not afraid to play anyone. He's like, I want games, I want to play. And that's been the other thing that's hurt them a little bit. They've had a lot of canceled games this year due to weather, due to the fires in Stillwater.
Second walk of the day issued by Malin. And Addison Leshber, the Minnesota transfer, up to first. 8 free passes by the Oklahoma State pitching staff, and Kenny Gajewski wants to chat things over with Mario Calabrese.
Well, I think they're saying that she was hit by the pitch. So I think,
rather than a walk.
Correct. So I wonder if they're... Take a look at this. Oh no, it looked like it just popped out of her glove.
Regardless, the result is the same. It was a 3-2 count.
Right.
So if it's a ball or hit by pitch,
Right. Well,
Leshber at first base.
100%. And I think that Hassler behind the dish, a couple of balls have popped out of her glove. She needs to receive those a little bit cleaner for Ruby. Try to set those pitches up.
Back behind the plate after 2 nights off. Hassler has been excellent this year. Speaking of catchers who are great receivers, Reese Hunter certainly fits that category.
Absolutely. She is strong behind the dish. Great arm.
Hunter, known for her defense, controlling the run game this year against Georgia Tech, has thrown out 7 of 12 runners stealing. But her bat is coming along nicely. Shoots it to the right side. Only play at first for Carly Godwin. 2 down. Up to second goes Leshber. Well, tomorrow we'll have a triple header of college softball for you right here on the ACC Network and the ESPN app. Louisville against the top 20 Duke team. And a top 20 showdown in the ACC between Virginia Tech and Stanford, followed by Cal and Clemson at 6 p.m. Eastern, all on ACCNet and the ESPN app. Of course, Stanford, one of those top 25 wins for this Georgia Tech team earlier in the year.
That's right. It was a great game. It was actually here at home for Georgia Tech. A couple of close games in that series.
Simon, a chopper fielded by Talon Edwards, and that'll end the inning. Malin, for the second time, pitches around a 1-out walk. Scoreless through 2. 1-0 Oklahoma State. 12 times they have never won the national championship, including 5 years in a row. Michelle Smith, you played for this program, and you know Kenny Gajewski as well as anyone, as he sends Rachel Hathoot to the plate here in the 9 spot, taking on a new pitcher in Camden Anders. And Kenny told us he looked in the mirror at the end of last season, had to make some changes, brought in Greg Bergeron, who has been a massive help to Kenny Gajewski at reassessing the program from a 30,000-foot view.
A little bit of a giggle there. So threw that pitch behind Hathoot. But to your point, Matt, yeah, Kenny Gajewski was like, all right, what do I need to do to change things around a little bit? Look in the mirror, you know, who can help me be better for my program? Anders is going to be a lot of curve, a lot of rise.
Well, and one of the other changes that Kenny Gajewski made last week went from being in the dugout the entire game back to coaching third base after 23 games of not being on the field when his offense was at the plate.
Well, and I think he's just decided, like, what am I doing in the dugout? I'm uncomfortable. Maybe my energy is uncomfortable. It's making the team uncomfortable. He's like, I'm more comfortable in the coach's box, you know.
And likewise, up at first base, Vanessa Shippey Fletcher was also in the dugout.
Correct.
With Kenny G. She's now back at first base, coaching on the field.
Vanessa Shippey, one of the best All-Americans to ever play at Oklahoma State, and a lot of tools, really good hitting coach. Does a lot of things for this program.
Well, we were in the cage with her earlier tonight. It blows my mind that she can throw pitches to each young lady on the team and critique the way they're swinging at the pitch every single time.
Something about it. You got to be able. It's actually the best view. Pitchers should be really good hitting coaches and ability to call pitches, because you can see where hitters, where they're diving in or diving out of the zone, you know, the things that they're doing, the corrections they need to make. You know, one of the big things I did when I was pitching is I could see the holes in the swings, and now you know where you need to attack the hitters.
3-2 count to Talon Edwards is drilled into center field, but gliding over to make the play is Vukadinovic. 2 down. Well, you mentioned 3-time All-American Vanessa Shippey Fletcher up at first base, helping the hitters. Helping the pitchers is another multi-time All-American in Carrie Eberly.
Yeah,
it's quite a staff Kenny G has put together.
Well, you're seeing a lot of these programs, you know, going back to alumni. Eileen Morales, obviously, for Georgia Tech, but you see a lot of that where, you know, these athletes have great careers and then they get into coaching and then they come back to where they played, and I love that.
This is Vanessa Shippey Fletcher, 3-time All-American, and of course Carrie Eberly, who began her career at Virginia Tech, finished it at Oklahoma State, helped the Cowgirls to a pair of World Series appearances. A wealth of experience within this program. This is sent into the gap in left center, and a diving play is in and out of the glove of Willer. Rounding second, headed to third is Warsup, and she is in safely. Great base running by the sophomore from England, and some insurance standing on third base.
Yeah, Tia Warsup is just going to go take a pitch on the outer half and just drive it the opposite way. This ball gets into the gap. How about the effort by Willer out in left field? Looks like it's going to be a web gem, and then when she gets down to the ground, it pops out. But Warsup, with all that speed, easily into third base.
Thinking 3 the whole time. And now Rosie Davis.
Second triple of the year for Tia Warsup.
First hit to leave the infield, though, tonight for Oklahoma State. Maybe something to jumpstart these Cowgirl bats that have been one of the better hitting teams in the Big 12 so far this year.
Yeah, they've got a .312 batting average coming into today. So their average has been good. Their power numbers have been down a little bit this year. Their on-base percentage at .387, which tells me that when there's not a lot of differentiation between the batting average and the on-base percentage, they don't walk a lot, which they don't. Only 69 walks on the year, well, 71 now with a couple of walks here today.
Add another one, Michelle.
There you go.
Right on cue. And now runners at the corners for one of the most dangerous hitters in America right now, the reigning Big 12 Player of the Week, Amanda Hassler. And maybe that's part of what this little meeting in the circle is about, and we may see a pitching change as Eileen Morales is out of the dugout. Amanda Hassler has hit home runs in 4 straight games. Georgia Tech will make a pitching change before she heads to the dish. We'll be right back after this. Great crowd tonight at Mewborn Field in downtown Atlanta. Runners at the corners, 2 down, and a pitching change. Sydney Watts, who began the game with a 1-2-3 first, comes back in to replace the lefty Camden Anders, taking on one of the top hitters in the Oklahoma State lineup, Amanda Hassler.
Yeah, just a really good first inning for Watts. Didn't have to throw a lot of pitches, picked up her 3 straight outs. Nice day at the office for her. But again, she's mid-60s. She's a little bit up in the zone. So even though she's up in the zone, she has a tendency to roll a lot of ground balls. She'd have a fly out to left, a strikeout on a screwball, and then a ground out to third. One of the keys here, too. This is all situational. Eileen Morales understanding that Hassler hits .421 versus lefties and just .268 versus righties. So this is all just playing the numbers in this big first and third situation against the power hitter for Oklahoma State.
You referenced the staff that Morales has at her disposal. 9 different arms that she can use on any given night. Taking advantage of that here in a 1-1 count to Hassler. Pivotal moment in the game for both teams. For Georgia Tech, looking for back-to-back top 15 wins. And for Oklahoma State, a must-win game after dropping the last 2. Hassler ropes it foul down the left field line.
Well, really challenging Hassler on that inner half, arm side. I love that. First Oklahoma State player with 4 home runs in 4 straight games since 2019, and that was Sam Shao.
Pretty good company.
There you go. Pitching, hitting extraordinaire. She was fun to watch.
1 ball, 2 strike count, 2 down, 2 on. Hassler lays off. Runner draws a throw. Run in to score. Back to first safely goes Davis. Perfectly executed. Scoring Warsup from third.
Well, that's a really good execution of a first and third situation. Reese Hunter, one of the best catchers in the game at throwing runners out. And this is all about baiting Hunter into making that throw down to second base. Rosie Davis with a lot of speed. Warsup also with a lot of speed at third. Able to get Georgia Tech to throw the ball around a little bit, buy themselves enough time to get that ball and that runner home.
Hassler, a mile-high drive into left center field, and back on it to make the catch is Willard. And that will end the inning. But a gamble by Kenny Gajewski pays off on the base path, scoring Warsup after a 2-out triple. 2-0 Oklahoma State. Paige Vukadinovich with her first plate appearance of the night, batting in the 9 spot. With that .353 average, second highest on the team.
Well, I think a lot of people probably think, those numbers, why is she in the 9 hole? But, you know, she turns the lineup over. She's got some speed, you know, so the ability to be out in front of the speedster and the leadoff. So she fits well there.
Goes after strike 1. It was funny, Eileen Morales told us that as a staff, they've kind of gone back and forth. Do we leave her in the 9? Do we move her up in the order? And ultimately they settled on her staying in the 9 because of what you just said. She takes strike 2.
You know, the 9-hole hitters I think are imperative. A lot of times you hear pitchers and you hear coaches talk about the fact, like, we can never walk them. We should, you know, they should be guaranteed outs. But this is obviously not the case with that over .350 batting average.
One away in the second, and back to the top of the order for Eliana Gottlieb. Malin looking comfortable. Allowed 2 base runners through the first time through the order, both by walk. No hits yet tonight for Georgia Tech. And strike 1 to Eliana Gottlieb. she is painting that outer edge, isn't she?
And that's the thing that Ruby Maylin can do so well, is that she can sit a corner, she can expand the zone, she can go down, then come back up. But she can exploit weaknesses.
You were a great cowgirl pitcher back in your day. What impresses you most about what you see from Ruby Maylin so far this year?
I think just all of her different tools, how she can expand the zone. She really can vertically separate her drop, her rise ball. But I love her energy. She's such a good leader for this team. You know, she pitches with a lot of passion, a lot of energy. You know, and this is a team that needs that.
Two swing and a miss, and the second strikeout of the game for Ruby Maylin.
So Maylin goes outside, arm side for the first couple pitches and then comes back on the inner half. That is a great over-the-top drop ball, painted perfectly on the inner half, gets Goblik to just swing through it.
Well, despite giving up 4 earned runs on Wednesday, Maylin had 8 strikeouts against Georgia.
Yeah, everybody was a little out of rhythm in that game. Even the defense, there were those 5 errors, but there was also positioning, and some of that was maybe Ruby was missing her spots a little bit. So when you miss your spot and let's say your middle infield's, pulled up the middle, and your opponent shoots a ball through the 5-6 hole, those are the things that can affect you and can affect the game. So there was a little bit of that, but there were also some balls specifically that probably could have been caught, knocked down. You're also playing on the road, and Georgia has speed, so what do? They're going to make their infield super hard so that infield is faster, so ground balls will get past defenders. I mean, there's all those things that when you're on the road, you're adjusting to.
2-2 count, 2 down, nobody on for Alyssa Willer. That was interesting. Despite all of that, Maylin texted Kenny Gajewski at the end of that game and said, "Coach, that's on me. I'll be better next time out." And she has been tonight. Deep in the hole, Bloodworth makes the play in a 1-2-3 inning for Ruby Maylin, who is still not allowed a hit to Eileen Morales' Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. We'll talk with the head coach, Eileen Morales.
Well, I'm going to technically say the 5th because they went back to Watts.
Because they went back to Watts for 1 out. Both of these teams will play Penn State tomorrow in Atlanta before they prepare to re-enter league play. And so for Eileen Morales, doing her best to save arms, not overwork anybody, and still compete to pick up their 4th ranked win of the season.
Well, I love how situational she is, and I hope we can get her back on the headset, because I want to hear her answer the question you were going to ask her. Is that she does a great job with matchups, and she's not afraid to. She did it situationally last inning. Amanda Hassler, one of the best left-handed hitters in the Oklahoma State lineup. She has a lefty in the circle. She says, "No way, runner in scoring position. I'm going to bring a righty back in."
Carly Godwin draws her 2nd walk of the game. And for the 2nd time tonight, the leadoff batter is aboard for Oklahoma State. And now Kenny Gajewski going to bring in a pinch runner. Macy Graff will come in for Godwin at first.
Well, and the one thing that Georgia Tech did so well last night is they didn't issue the free passes. Already 3 walks in this game through just 4 innings. Talk about those free passes all the time. The walks hit batters and errors.
Will Macy Graff test Reese Hunter, who has thrown out 7 runners stealing this season? Meanwhile, Aaron Dixon pitching coach for Georgia Tech, out of the dugout. Furness has only thrown 14 innings this year. Big moment for her, taking on a top 15 team.
Especially this situation where you have the leadoff walk, and then Megan Delgadillo, probably the speediest, right? She's the NCAA active leading stolen base leader. So a lot of speed in the box, and if you put speed in the box with some speed on the bases, it can create some chaos.
Makes you sweat a little bit if you're in the circle, huh?
Exactly.
Delgadillo last year won the Golden Shoe Award. Led the nation in stolen bases out of Cal State Fullerton. Broke many a program record out there. It was a big get for Kenny Gajewski in the transfer portal. She wasn't even sure she was going to get an extra year.
Yeah. Delgadillo is just fun to watch. I mean, offensively, defensively.
Shoots this into left field, right into the mitt of Willer. One down.
Next batting, the designated player, number 6, Audrey Schneidmiller.
But now Audrey Schneidmiller, who has just found ways to put together productive at-bats, now in 3 consecutive games. Drove in the first run of the game back in the second with a ground out to second. And each of the last 2 games tallying at least 1 hit. Tonight getting the start as the DP.
Well, sometimes it's just that consistency. You just need the ability to be out on that field, be engaged.
Graf, an extended lead over at first base. Almost drawing a throw from Reese Hunter.
Yeah, and that's a good job by Schneidmiller, because it looks like, you know, she's going to square around, put the bunt down, but it's a ball, so she pulls back. She puts herself in a leverage 2-0 count now.
Drops down a bunt. Only play at first. Graf now in scoring position with 2 down.
Next batting, the shortstop, number 55, Megan Bloodworth.
And in steps Megan Bloodworth. Bloodworth up the middle into center. Will they test Vukadinovic? Yes, and it's a 3-0 Oklahoma State lead.
How about Megan Bloodworth coming through in the 8-hole, absolutely having her best year offensively in her career. Pitch on the inner half, attacks it, drives it right up. Look at that backside rotation, really good back control, easily going to score. Mary Graf, the pinch hitter from second base. That's the 14th RBI of the year for Megan Bloodworth.
And now Rachel Hadhoot with a runner on and 2 outs. You talk so much, Michelle, about situational at-bats. Last night, Oklahoma State was 0 for 5 with 2 outs. Great response here after losing game 1 6-4 a night ago. Backhanded and a foul ball. Kenny Gajewski was desperately trying to convince Mario Calabrese it was fair, but the home plate umpire ultimately calling it a dead ball.
Well, back to your point about situational hitting, so important, Matt. And you know, even in this game, only 3 hits for Oklahoma State. Georgia Tech has done a good job of limiting that.
Line drive to Simon will end the inning. We will try and talk with Kenny Gajewski when we return. His team up 3-0 here in game 2 from Atlanta.
Like, hey, that ball up the middle could have been caught, or this or that, or what. She's taking responsibility, because then she can actually control it, you know, and that's what you want from your elite athletes. gives her the opportunity to go in and say, you know what, I'm going to throw that drop ball a little better. I'm going to throw it an inch lower, because then instead of it being scorched back up the middle at my shortstop, now maybe it's rolled over to my third baseman. So it's all those little changes that you empower yourself with by taking responsibility.
1-1 count to Grayson Tucker, who struck out looking back in the first. Still no hits allowed tonight by Ruby Malin. Only 2 batters to reach those 2 walks, 1 in the first, 1 in the second.
She's done a good job at controlling the lower half of the zone. I think, Georgia Tech hit the ball with a little bit of power last night, so they're staying a little bit lower in the zone, forcing them to try to get underneath that drop ball, which is tough to do when it's coming at you 70 miles an hour.
I don't want any part of that. 1-2. Jammed into the mid of the first baseman, Carly Godwin.
Good job by Godwin to really call off Davis. You could really hear her on the field calling Davis off.
Now Eileen Morales out of the dugout. Maybe seeing a pinch hitter here for Georgia Tech. Potentially. Home plate umpire Mario Calabrese going to get together with Dwayne Shoemate Jr., Jeffrey Blanken. The hitter scheduled to bat in the 4 spot, Jaden Galley, is the one standing just outside of the batter's box. So wondering what this could be about here.
Actually, that's Tucker who's coming back up. I wonder, so that 19 is Gracelyn Tucker. It looks like the umpires are together. They're talking a little bit about that pop-up.
Got it.
So I don't know if they were calling. Trying to say it was an illegal pitch or what. We'll have to see if we can get a explanation of what's going on.
It's a long conversation here from Mario Calabrese after Eileen Morales popped out of the dugout. Now he's going to walk over to the Oklahoma State dugout.
Nice pitch.
And are you seeing anything here that would...
The only thing I can think of is that Godwin was pinch run for, but they did re-enter her, so I don't know if they're trying to say that Godwin was not re-entered into the game. But it was clearly she was, because up here we have it on stat broadcast that Carly Godwin to first base for Macy Graff.
Mm-hmm.
And Kenny Gajewski, I think that's what he's saying. He's like, I re-entered her.
It would be rather surprising that we would have it.
Correct. Yeah, that's on the umpire.
Stat broadcast, and they wouldn't have it downstairs.
Yes, correct. If that's the case, and I think Kenny's upset because that's not his mistake. It's not like he didn't re-enter the player. So I understand why he is a little bit heated right now. But it's also a good catch by Eileen Morales. If the umpire made the mistake and didn't let Georgia Tech know that she was re-entered.
So Jaden Gailey will continue her at bat, and I beg your pardon, it's Grayson Tucker. Gailey is due up next. Tucker will continue her at bat. Ruby Malin getting a fresh ball from home plate umpire Mario Calabrese. And there are no outs.
Well, there's a good chance that Kenny Gajewski may have made that before the interview, and it just got lost. We'll have to get...
Doesn't matter anyway.
So Ruby's like, all right, I'll just retire 4 in this inning if I have to. So gets the strikeout instead of the pop out.
Third strikeout of the game for Ruby Malin.
And Ruby goes right back to a drop ball in the outer half. Really good movement. Look at her. She's got a little bit of pizzazz, a little bit of spice.
And now Jaden Gailey will dig in. And Ruby Malin continues to pepper the outer half against left-handed hitters tonight. By the way, Carly Godwin is still in the game at first base, and that caught the face mask of Gailey.
A rise ball that just got away from Ruby.
Grace Connolly shoots it over to second base. Well played by Rosie Davis. 2 down. Well, this week's featured baseball game on ACC Network and the ESPN app. It is tonight. NC State taking on Duke in the first game of their 3-game set at Jack Coombs Field. Coverage begins at 8 Eastern. Coming your way right at the conclusion of our game here tonight. Leshper to third, and it's Edwards on to first. Still a no-hitter for Ruby Malin through 4 innings. Her team leading 3-zip. We will chat. If you count Watts coming into the game on 2 separate occasions, this is pitcher number 6.
Number 6, yeah.
For the Yellow Jackets.
That's how I've got it numbered on my scorecard.
You know, we talked about it a lot as a broadcast team at Clearwater. One of the things that all the different coaches of these top 25 programs continued to say was that the game is trending towards staffs.
100%.
Which was not the case just a decade ago.
No way. Exactly. When I was playing, it was typically when I got the ball, it was like you're going to throw all 7 innings and just mentally know that. It's a different game, though. You know, there's a lot more offense in the game. There's a lot more technology. The bats, the ball is different. The ball flies further now.
And, too, a lot more consideration of recovery, performance, all the things that go into getting you ready to pitch at an elite level on any given night. 2-2 count to Talon Edwards. And that caught a piece of the leadoff hitter. She is aboard for the first time tonight.
Caulfield trying to work that lefty-lefty matchup against Edwards and just loses that curveball. Plunks her.
Let's not act like you didn't want the ball every game, though.
I did want the ball every game. But that's part of what you want from a pitcher in the circle. You want that pitcher to be in control and want the ball. You know, if you have a pitcher that's a little hesitant, isn't always wanting to be in a pressure situation, it's tough. And sometimes that does take maturity. But I'll tell you, I'm impressed with all the young pitchers that Georgia Tech does have. They have gone out there and they haven't shown any nerves. They've been aggressive. They've attacked the zone. Really, what stands out on my scorecard are the 4 free passes, 3 walks, a hit batter. They've only given up 3 hits. So overall, pretty good effort here in the top of the 5th inning for Georgia Tech.
Punched into right field, down for a base hit, bobbled by Gottlieb. Both runners advance another bag. And Warsup aboard again.
Worship hot in that 2-hole. I love the way, though, that Taylon Edwards is going to run this and identify that this ball is going to be down first off. So a good job by Worship to run through the box, punch this into the outfield. But look at Edwards. She makes sure it's down, and then she's going to see that the ball is dropped, continue on to third. That allows Worship to be able to come in hard into second. So Oklahoma State now, runners at second and third with no outs here in the top of the 5th.
Two of their 4 hits coming off the bat of Tia Worship, who has had an excellent season. Second in the Big 12 in batting average. And now Rosie Davis in 3-hole with Amanda Hassler on deck. And Reese Hunter will call time. Game sort of teetering here for Georgia Tech. 3 runs, not insurmountable, but nobody out in 2 in scoring position with the most dangerous section of Oklahoma State's lineup.
Yeah, and it all kind of started with that free pass to Edwards, getting hit by the pitch, and then Worshop with the base hit. Oklahoma State has not really consecutively put things back to back to back. They had the leadoff hit in the second, followed up by a walk. They were able to produce a run on an infield ground ball to the right side, but there hasn't really been a lot of offensive sparks. Opportunity here for Oklahoma State to try to put something together.
Davis popped into right field. Gottlieb is there. Edwards will tag, so will Worship. Both are safe, and it's 4-0 Oklahoma State. So the speed of the Cowgirls, allowing them to execute with runners aboard and taking advantage of those free passes.
Well, this ball hit super high. Good job by Gottlieb to get underneath of it. Nice arm on right field as well. Don't choose to go after Edwards at home. They choose to go after Worshop at third, but the throw off line just a little bit.
We will have a pitching change with Amanda Hassler coming to the plate after this. North Carolina and Notre Dame in a top 20 showdown in the ACC. Our featured women's lacrosse matchup right here on the ACC Network from South Bend. Coverage begins 3 Eastern on Sunday. New pitcher into the game, Kinsey Norton, coming off her 4th save of the season last night against Oklahoma State. The senior from Woodstock, Georgia, will go again. And the first batter she will face is Amanda Hassler.
Amanda Hassler with the biggest bat in that lineup right now. She has hit 4 home runs in the last 4 games, and going up against Norton. Norton does a really good job of working the lower half of the zone, a good drop ball. She also has a great changeup. She threw a little bit last night. She will throw that rise ball about 29% of the time, but it's normally that drop at 32% of the time.
Last 10 games, Hassler batting above 450, best on the team. Big 12 Player of the Week after producing 8 runs batted in the series against Baylor. Series in which Oklahoma State won 2-1. Had that walk-off in the 9th to solidify the series win in Game 3. Strike 1.
Boy, they are really challenging Hassler on that inner half. Everything right side, arm side, right-handed pitchers.
Hassler drills it up the middle and has another run batted in. This will go all the way to the wall, scoring Worship, and Hassler is safe with a double.
Hassler got all into that ball. The only reason it didn't leave the yard is because she squared it up solid versus elevating it. That's her third double of the year. This ball is just rope. Look how quickly that gets to the wall. Easily going to score her teammate Worsup from third into second with her third double of the year.
One out runner in scoring position, Carly Godwin at the plate for Oklahoma State. Godwin tonight a pair of walks. Swinging the bat very well. Middle of this season. Preseason All-American after a monster freshman year. The only Cowgirl to start every game in 2024.
Yeah, just has a really good presence. Great job over at first base. Love the way that she's always so focused. You can see her eyes, the way that she stares down pitchers, knows what she's hunting.
Hard hit, foul down the third base line. Well, she's got some serious pop in her bat. Set the freshman single season record with 15 homers a year ago.
5 doubles, 4 home runs on the year. Power numbers down a little bit this year, but you almost expect that because she has a big bullseye or a big circle around her name on the scorecard.
Lays off the 2-2. Kenny Gajewski told us that's been part of her growth this year, just managing expectations, managing being at the top of the scouting report. Full count with a runner in scoring position. Shoots it into left field, down for a base hit. They will hold Hassler at third.
A little bit of tough luck softball here for Georgia Tech. A little bit of a jam job, but Godwin just finishes her swing and able to get this to fall out onto the green. And because the defense and the outfield is so far back, that ball's going to find the green. A good job by Godwin to finish her swing and get that ball down.
Infield drawn in now for the speedy Megan Delgadillo. One down, runners at the corners. Strike one to Delgadillo.
Delgadillo normally in that leadoff spot. Not a lot of RBIs on the year simply because she was in that leadoff there every game until tonight. But she's going to stand in now. Usually you'll see her run through, slap through, come through and bunt, but RBI situation.
Another preseason All-American transferring over from Cal State Fullerton. Takes the 0-2 into left field. Back on it, Willer. Hassler will tag. No throw into home. 6-zip Cowgirls.
Another sacrifice fly. Second of the inning for Oklahoma State. This ball well struck. Delgadillo again standing in, trying to get that ball deep, knowing what her job is in a first and third situation. Really good base running by Hassler. Doesn't move off the bag, knowing opportunity to score the 6th run of the game for Oklahoma State by tagging up.
0-1 count to Audrey Schneidmiller. Drove in the first run of the game for Oklahoma State, back in the second. Mile high pop up behind home. Reese Hunter trying to track, it'll get into the seats. And Oklahoma State has scored at least one run in every inning since the first. Already 3 here in the 5th. And trying to tack on with Godwin over at first base. Oh, 2 will ring up Schneidmiller on the inside corner. Reese Hunter will try to get a rally started here in the 5th. Chops it to second base. Davis to first, 1 away.
Good job by Davis. A little excuse me swing. Check swing by Hunter.
Now, the last time we saw Malin was Wednesday against Georgia. And Kenny Gajewski said, look, she's got elite stuff. Everybody knows that. But they felt as a staff that she was overthrowing a little bit in that Georgia game. I'm not seeing that here. She is very comfortable and very much in control.
Yeah, and a lot of times when a coach says you're overthrowing, it basically means you are throwing through your spin, so you've got more speed than spin speed, and spin speed is what gives you movement. 70 miles an hour nowadays doesn't really fool hitters because, again, the technology, the ball, everything, you're just looking for the pitcher to supply the power. So if you're throwing through your spins, it's like a bullet. It's basically just straight. And that's not what you want. You don't want that as a pitcher. So she's doing a little better job of getting that good peel drop, driving down in the dirt, the rise ball up in the zone.
1 out walk drawn by Emma Simon. 4th free pass by Malin. If there's been a blemish tonight, it's been the free passes.
3 walks and a hit batter.
What was the highest on the radar gun you ever hit in your playing days?
74 miles an hour. So little different technology. Nowadays it's all Doppler radar, so it's out of the hand versus, you know, way back in the day when I played, it was radar that basically caught the pitch in front of home plate.
Right.
And, you know, the ball will definitely decrease in velocity between the pitcher's hand and home plate. Typically it will come down anywhere from 3 to 4 miles.
So you're saying you threw harder than 74.
No,
Look
no.
at the hair on Michelle Smith, the
we didn't
two-time
wear-
Olympic champ.
There weren't scrunchies, okay, and there weren't visors, although I did go on to grow my hair out and wear a visor when I played for Team USA. But yep, back in the day, when the wind kept whipping down the plane, you know, you had to keep your hair short.
Oh, man. That is good stuff.
Too funny. Those pictures haunt me for my entire life.
They follow you everywhere you go. This is punched into left field, and that'll break up the no-hitter. Paige Vukadinovic continues a hot season in the 9-hole.
Well, part of the reason that she stays there, Coach Morales talked about it. She just has this innate ability to roll over the lineup. Pitch on the inner half. She is jammed up, but look at the way that she just busts that through. She really just continues her swing. So even though she's jammed up on the inner half and almost fisted off the barrel, she gets that ball line drive going the opposite way into left field.
Flips the lineup back to the top of the order. It's Eliana Gottlieb. Did the hair give you a few extra miles per hour?
I don't know what to. I didn't know, actually, when I was that age. I'd only been pitching for 3 years, actually. So I didn't really start to come into my own until I would say it was in my mid to late 20s when I played in the Olympics. So I was a late bloomer, let's put it that way.
So you did not pitch in high school?
I didn't start to pitch till my sophomore year in high school.
Wow.
Yeah, so I started very late. I had a lot of catch up. I played field hockey and basketball, and I had to do my homework to get good. I had some great pitching coaches, and Sandy Fisher and Margaret Rebinar at Oklahoma State. And I think that's what you see with a lot of programs nowadays. These pitchers want to go somewhere where they can develop and learn and grow and continue to increase the different pitches that they do throw.
Well, you just said something that reminds me of a theme with this Georgia Tech team, playing field hockey, basketball, as well as softball.
Yeah.
That's one of the things they try to recruit here, according to Eileen Morales. Multi-sport athletes coming out of high school. They have a bunch of them on the roster, particularly with this heavy freshman recruiting class.
100%. Well, Eileen Morales, a great athlete herself, and she knows the importance of being well-schooled, well-versed athletically, not just on the softball field, but agilities, abilities.
Fourth strikeout of the game for Malin. 2 down in the 5th.
Great job by Malin to pick up that 4th strikeout, but most importantly, the 2nd out of the inning, Georgia Tech trying to put something together, and that's just a really good pitch on the outer half. It's got a little out, little down, arm side, really good movement by Malin for the 4th strikeout.
2 on, 2 out for the former 3-sport athlete, Alyssa Willer. Played basketball and ran track from Bethlehem, Georgia.
The other thing you notice about Ruby Malin is that she throws really well when she throws fast. She gets in a good pace. Doesn't spend a lot of time. Well, just as I say that, she calls time. But she's in control. She knows what she wants to throw, and likes to work a little bit quick. A lot of elite pitchers do that.
Handcuffed to second. Davis will take it herself and tap the second base bag. 2 base runners on that inning for Georgia Tech. No problem for Malin, whose no-no is broken up. Oh, that got Bloodworth. Sounded like it hit the elbow guard as she goes up to first.
Yeah, Norton's been really arm side heavy, working those right-handed hitters on the inner half. And just catches Bloodworth. See, it's going to go off that elbow guard. And see, she actually pulls away from it, still goes off that guard.
Probably still doesn't feel good, even with that thing on it.
Yeah, you can still feel it even when it goes off that guard. Obviously, it doesn't damage the tissue as much, but you can feel the vibration, that's for sure.
Rachel Hadhoot in the 9-hole.
Nice off-speed pitch by Norton. Comes right back with it. Norton wanted that call. It's a little bit elevated.
Didn't miss by much.
No, I don't blame her. I always side on the pitcher. So perspective.
You don't say. Well, it has been a heavy dose of Norton and Voiles this year. Of course, Voiles last night got the win against Oklahoma State. Went 5 1/3, 5 scoreless against this Oklahoma State offense. Norton came in and got the save. Going back to her here late, down by 6. 1 on, nobody out, 2-2 count. Strike 3 called on Hadhoot, 1 away. And the second of the night for Kinsey Norton.
Well, Norton just continuing to use that off-speed pitch. You can see that she really gets under that pitch, has a lot of tight spin on it, throws it inside, and Hadhoot just not able to identify it.
Talon Edwards lays off ball 1. We talked about it earlier in this game. Kenny Gajewski, his team dropping back-to-back games to Georgia and Georgia Tech, called this a must-win game for his team.
Well, and he mentioned it in his interview. It's all about executing, and they are executing better. You know, the game against Georgia, 5 errors. You know, they had opportunities offensively to put more runs up on the board and didn't. Last night against Georgia Tech, not as many free passes issued by Georgia Tech, opportunities to score, not able to get it done. And their pitching staff for Oklahoma State gave up a lot of free passes that Georgia Tech capitalized on. So it's all about executing, right? Your pitchers cannot give up free passes. Your defense cannot make defensive mistakes, and your offense has to hit situationally. Oklahoma State's been trying to put all that together.
You might be looking outside in on this Oklahoma State team and thinking, you're the number 15 team in the country. How could this be a must-win game in late March? The goals that this program has dictates the fact that this is a must-win game. Edwards spoils the 3-1. They have been to 5 consecutive Women's College World Series, and you know as well as anyone, the teams that have the best chance not only to get to Oklahoma City but win, host a regional and host a super.
Absolutely.
That's why this game is so important to Oklahoma State.
Absolutely. It's, you know, it's all about being able to stay home in that postseason. When May rolls around, you want to be sleeping in your own bed and playing for your own fans.
Double play opportunity. They get the runner at second and Edwards at first. Bang, bang. Connolly to Simon to Lesper. But I believe Kenny Gajewski is going to challenge the call at second base on the slide by Bloodworth.
Yeah, that was a tight play over at second base.